So, Animal Farm, it's launched a few days ago. This is the post-launch recap. We can look at what's gone on and what's likely to happen next. There's been tons of FUD, loads of excitement from a different group of people. So what is the real deal here? Who is correct? Who is wrong about where this project is going? So you should have heard of Drip, which I think is possibly this year's best performing DeFi project so far. Obviously it launched last year, but it's done incredibly well so far at the beginning of 2022. Now you may have heard of Animal Farm here, which is the just launched Yieldcom, which has been created by the same developer behind Drip, just launched, and it's been really controversial. We've seen loads of fudders sell up and leave and criticise the project, but everyone else that's still in there seems to think that they're absolutely on their way to the moon. So who is right and why? Stick with me here to find out. Well, the launch happened last Thursday. It was scheduled for 11 a.m. Eastern time, and finally kicked off, as you can see here, just over 4 hours. I think it was about 4.5 hours later before it actually went live. A lot of people were stressed out. The Animal Farm Telegram was absolutely bonkers. People just not knowing what was going on, not knowing what to do. The number of people in here, I think this was something like 15,000 before the launch, and it went up to 40,000 really quickly. It's now on 62,000, so you can see there's a lot of growth here, a lot of interest in the protocol. But yeah, even when they launched, 5 hours of getting things up and running. There was obviously a lot of preparation before that with the Mana Farm, which was a kind of pre-launch version of the DApp. So even at 5 o'clock on the Thursday, some of the functionality still wasn't activated from the get-go, and that got some people quite wound up. But let's look into how it works. For those of you that don't know, there are two tokens. One is dogs, the other is pigs. And staking dogs has given some actually pretty exciting yields, although the price has been grinding down a little bit. Not too much. Pretty steady, but you should be, as long as you've been using the platform and investing and compounding, then you should be up quite handsomely, unless of course you jumped in here and paid too much for this hour or two post-launch, which is kind of almost inevitable when these exciting projects launch. People pile in, they're desperate to get in, and they pay a bit too much. All that means is it's going to take you a little bit longer to compound and get your yields and recover from overpaying. So for the first 2 days in this platform, in the farms, I was getting more than 20% daily at a daily rate. Every 4 hours you could harvest your returns. And yeah, I was picking up some quite nice amounts for the first 2 days. As more money has flowed in, that's gradually been dropping. It's now seems to be settling around 3% a day for the best performing but riskier core assets, which are the dogs-based and drip-based tokens. And for other things like stable coins and things like Ethereum, you would have been seeing not quite 2%, but certainly more than 1% a day. I was getting 1.5% on the first few days just for depositing Ethereum in here, which is an incredible return on such a kind of blue chip crypto asset as Ethereum, as Ether. And so what's the problem exactly? Why would people be flooding? Well, there were lots of noobs who seemed to have flocked in because it was getting a lot of publicity and people were getting excited about how much people have made from Drip. A lot of these people don't necessarily know what they're doing. They probably haven't experienced a launch of a project like this. They may have been in a bunch of scams, and so they're very nervous, as they should be. But a lot of people seem to have been misinterpreting some of the key facts and then fudding as soon as they encountered reality and discovered that those things weren't correct, and probably due to their own misunderstanding rather than any kind of a scam on the part of Animal Farm and Forex Shark. So ultimately, a lot of these people have been disappointed that they didn't become insta-millionaires. Now, here's an example of one of these kind of misunderstandings. There are all kinds of mechanisms on the farm to reward diamond hands at the expense of people who jump in and out of projects. This has been explained over and over again by the dev Forex Shark. One of those mechanisms is that many of the taxes on transactions go into the BUSD rewards vault to be paid to those staking the main PIGS token in there. And so 30% of those taxes are paid instantly to PIGS stakers, and the remaining 70%, the vast majority of it, goes into the vault, but then drips out slowly. So that vault actually pays out 3% of its value daily. So you can see here how much is in the vault. Some people saw that 3% daily mechanism, and they thought that would simply mean that whatever they deposited into the pig pen, they would get 3% of that each day. So while that is approximately what people are indeed currently getting on dogs, 2.83%, and it also isn't out of the question for one of Forex's projects to pay out a very nice daily reward, because Drip itself promises 1% daily based on what you have in there. That isn't the same mechanism as what's going on here. So as you can see, we're at $3.57 million of BUSD, the Binance USD stable coin, in the vault at the moment. And so a few hours ago, when I checked this, it was at 3.4 million. So it is going up steadily, probably several $100,000 a day, more than 10% a day, I would suggest. So of that, 3%, which is roughly 100k, is being paid out each day as rewards to everybody who is in the pen, who is staked in the pen. So that doesn't mean that you get 3% of what you have in there. So if you have $100, you're not going to get $3 a day. You're going to get your share of whatever that $100,000 is, based on what percentage, roughly what percentage of the total money staked into pigs is. So that's $90 million of pigs there. 100k a day is more like 0.1% returns daily. So that's not a huge amount, and you can see why some people might think they're better off getting the 3% in dogs or just going to another project, particularly as the prices haven't been rocketing. The prices of the tokens haven't rocketed in either pigs or dogs. But if you think about how fast that vault is growing, this is the key. Everything here is configured for the long term. So that percentage, that 0.1%, is going to push upwards. Forex has said this in his AMAs, in all of his documentation, all of his chats in Telegram. He said it over and over and over, that you're going to be rewarded better if you have diamond hands. And so, in addition to that fact, the rewards that are going out, they aren't just linear and fixed. They're designed to reward people who invest early and stay in the pen long term, much more than those who come later, who enter later, and of course a lot more than anyone that exits the pen. So that's one of the incentives I mentioned earlier. The longer you stake, the more that 3% of the vault is skewed towards you rather than someone that has just entered the vault. So the longer you stay in, not only are you getting a share of a bigger payout, but your share is going to be bigger than other people's. So he has been waiting for paper hands to quit and sell off their tokens with an impatient manner, the way that many early buyers of drip also quit when the price dropped for a while. It was at $7 for quite some time, and people got frustrated and thought they'd lost money. If you look in the early days, we were kind of launching around 24. Obviously, the pre-launch people got in for less than that, but anyone that got in at this level, you ground down to kind of $7 here, and some people quit. Of course, you've gone up to almost $200 a few weeks ago. We're sticking around at this $130 level, but of course the key element of drip is that you end up with more drips than you started with if you're compounding. So you could have trebled, quadrupled your quantity of drip. So in effect, that price, instead of going from 7 to 134, it's more like 7 to 6 or 700. It's been some phenomenal returns in there. So those people that quit and were really impatient, they've seen that was the wrong thing to do. Maybe for their particular circumstances they had to do it, but in general, when you go into a long-term project that has been configured to reward people that stick around, you don't want to quit at the beginning just because there are no really fast rewards. It doesn't make any sense. Just don't enter in the first place if you're looking for short-term gains from a long-term project. So how sorry must all those guys be that did quit at $7 now that it's been seen to be printing millions for some of the people that put in fairly small amounts and compounded for a long time. So Forex Shark has stated over and over, he who has the most pig tokens in the animal farm will get the most rewards in the long term, not the short term. So if you're desperate for those quick and huge returns, just go elsewhere. You should also know that the vast majority of people chasing those kinds of returns simply lose whatever they put in. Investment is a game that transfers wealth from those who are impatient to those who have patience. So listen up, and if you do choose to play in the animal farm, make sure you're playing the game properly. My approach, at the moment anyway, is this. I decided how much I was going to put into this new platform and its tokens. We didn't know what the price would be, but I could allocate a certain amount of my portfolio. And so there was my drip amounts. I had some drip that I knew I would be able to put into the farms. But other than that, I decided on how much I was going to put into dogs and pigs. So, starting with drip, the amount that was coming out of drip itself. Remember, I get 1% daily from my stash, and choose whether to reinvest each day or to collect some. So, leading up to the launch of the farm, I was collecting some of that and keeping it to the side, ready to put in here. And ultimately, you could pair with BUSD and pop them in here. You'd only get a 1% fee, which is much lower than most of the non-core tokens. Of course, there's a 0% deposit fee for the dogs, only 1% for drip, so it was nice. And I knew that even if I struggled to get some of the dogs tokens at a decent price at launch, I wouldn't be missing out on those early yields because I had some drip ready to go in. So that's what I did. If you have yield coming from somewhere other than drip, then you can just convert that into BUSD, drop them in here, and it will pair them into drip and BUSD liquidity pairings, and it will do that without paying what is a normal 10% transaction fee for doing things with drip. So that's a good way to get in if you're doing that. And with the rest, with the other money that I put aside ready to go into the farm, I decided to put 30% into the pig pen and 70% into dogs, and dogs paired with BUSD or BNB in fairly equal amounts. So with those in there, you can harvest every 4 hours. I don't necessarily harvest straight away 4 hours. There are some quite hefty $5 transaction fees when you harvest. It's because the contracts are quite complicated. I believe that there is a mechanism that will reduce the cost of those fees using some of the taxes, but if that is in place, then the fees must be even higher than $5. I'm not sure that it is actually in place, and it would be helpful if it was for anyone that has smaller amounts where that $5 eats into your harvest quite badly. So I wait until that $5 only represents a single digit percentage of my overall harvest. So it has to be kind of more than $50 before I will harvest any rewards. And then each time that I collect them, and it pays out in for these core tokens, they pay out in pigs. And so I will collect those and then decide, based on what's happening at the moment, what the prices of pigs and dogs are. If they're, if one is recently kind of suffered a big sell and is at a low point, I would probably keep that one or buy into it versus another one that might be a little bit higher at that time. So I have been sometimes keeping the pigs and putting them straight into the pen. At other times I've sold the pigs if they're a little bit higher priced, bought back into some of these dogs pairs and taken advantage of the high early returns. But as time has gone on, more and more I'm keeping the pigs and getting them into the pen, because as we've been told again and again, those are the tokens that are in the long term going to be rewarding you the most. People are going to be competing to get a higher stake of ownership of the farm that pays out those BUSD returns. So that's following the advice of the dev, which if you trust the dev, then you should generally consider doing that. If you're worried about whether to trust the dev, you might be wanting to take a different strategy. So when you do collect your pigs, you can come into the pen and stake them here. This will then pay out BUSD, and the idea is then you complete the cycle and you either sell those BUSD for more dogs to earn pigs, or you just take the BUSD and buy pigs directly and put them back in the pen. So I have some other coins as well that are non-core that I don't want to sell to get any of these dogs or pigs tokens. And so you may be the same. If you've got some precious Bitcoin or Cake or Ethereum, you can bridge those into the Binance Smart Chain, deposit them here. And I did that with ETH at the very beginning, and I was getting 1.5% a day in yield on my ETH. Fantastic rate that you can't really get anywhere else, not anywhere that I think is as safe as this platform. That yield is now down to about 1%, but it's still absolutely fantastic. So that's it for now in terms of my strategy, what I think about the platform. I'm not too worried about all of the less experienced and impatient people that have been dropping out of the platform. Some people have obviously been cashing in some rewards, particularly if they were in the previous incarnation, the Mana Farm. They'd already earned some quite healthy profits from there, so it's only natural that in the early days there will be some sell pressure once they'd converted their tokens, their rewards that were earned on the pre-sale website, the Mana Farm. And that sell pressure is going to be here probably for a few more days yet before the supply of the tokens drops and the project becomes more and more popular. The buybacks and all of the taxes start to kick in. People realise that this vault is going up, and so the daily rewards are going up, and they'll see in the Telegram groups that people are actually saying, yes, I've been in longer and my rewards are seeming to be better than people that have just joined the pen. All of those things I think may converge and bring us some nice token price appreciation in addition to the pretty cool yield that you're getting on here. So I would guess I'm about 30% in profit at the moment from consistently banking the dogs and pigs tokens and reinvesting them into the platform. That's pretty cool for a few days investment. So I think that the user base is still fairly unsure as to what's going on. We saw earlier today that Forex Shark actually did the first of what he says will be many Pigpen capital injections. We've got the 2 transactions here. You can see that $1 million has gone in to the Pigpen, 900,000, the other one's 100,000. That did result in a little healthy spike here, but again, some people that were desperate to sell maybe saw that the returns didn't absolutely skyrocket instantly, still not understanding that that's not something that is supposed to happen at all, so it shouldn't be a surprise that it doesn't happen. The excitement pumped the price up, and it's dropped down again. It seems to be fairly steady about this point. So it's going to take a while for everyone to start to understand what really is going on with the Pigpen, with the animal farm, and about this long-term plan. The people that have been in drip and have seen it work, they're, I think, more likely to understand the long-term potential of this platform, and it was going to take the noobs a little bit longer to catch on. They don't understand the mechanics of this platform yet. So I keep buying more. I'm not pumping any more new money into the platform other than some of my drip yields that are coming out of this pretty crazy website at the moment. Those are coming in, but otherwise I'm just reinvesting everything that comes out of the farm and the pools.